Good morning, everybody. It's great being back here again. I haven't been here for a few years, and I forgot it was brilliant. And today, I had a lot of sound bites on my trip up from the south on the various trains, and I was thinking of the stories that I was going to tell on stage. But actually, it was okay. It was slightly late, but it was okay. It was good. So what I thought I'd start with is actually just give you, hopefully we can go to the slides. There we go. So hopefully, one of the things that you noticed about transport, and one of the things we do at Google is we think about the transport journey before you even think about transport. If you think about how you got here today, probably the first thing is if you're going to stay over, you would look for a hotel, because you'd know that if there's multiple events going on, you'd book a hotel. Then what would happen is at that point you'd go, right, how will I get there? Should I drive? Should I do the train? And you'll go through various different Google searches, hopefully, and you'll find out different options. Then what you'll do is say, well, is it better for me to go up early morning? Is it better to go up in the evening? All those decisions are made before you book a ticket. And I think when we think about transport, we think about the physical aspects of what I did this morning when I got on the 6:49 from Reading. But actually, many of those started way before. Now, at Google, we have a concept that's called micro-moment. And it's really quite an important part of our DNA. I don't know how many people here have touched Google technology since you've been at this event, but you probably use street maps to work out how to get here through Google Maps. You probably, if you had parking, said, is there parking? You might have even, if you've got an EV, actually looked for electric charging at your train station, or how busy the trains are. Every one of those interactions we call a micro moment. And actually, it's the way that we understand the persona, because the persona of one traveller is very different from another. Now you might say, well, what about if I don't do human travel, but I do logistics? There's no difference. How do you get to know the person that wants to ship a parcel or wants to ship a container full of stuff before they know about you? So this is why you have to be relevant. So we know the modern journey is a connected experience, and it's not one answer is the same for everybody. We've gone way beyond hyper-personalisation, which we would have talked about a couple of years ago. We're much more in the interaction that I want type of action. We want to have it in the way that we want to consume it. Maybe digital, maybe paper. There's not one route to the answer. Now, when you then start building up the picture, and I'll use my travel today as a great example. The first thing is the debate I had about drive versus train. Now, what was really important for me was the Wi-Fi connection. Because if I was going to travel by train, I'd want good Wi-Fi. Sounds weird, but it's a personal choice. The second one was, well, effectively, can I do better on a train than I could do in a car? Am I going to have loads of calls today? No. So I'll go by train. So all these decisions I'm making on the decision of travel and the way I transport. So we do that by understanding this journey approach. So as we go through this, you're going to see technology being used to get insight like we've never seen before. Now, AI, there's two elements to AI. There's more than that, and if anybody's technical in the audience, I know you're going to say, no, there's many more than that, but I'll give you the two forms that we have today. One is machine learning. I would say that most corporations have been using machine learning for multiple decades. That should not be new. It might be new to the business user, because in the machine learning era, the technologists hide that from the business. In the generative AI era, which really came to the headline in 23, actually the biggest user of it is the business. And the reason why is they know the questions to be asked, and they know if the answers are relevant to their business. So if you're going to invest in AI, the first thing I tell you about this holistic approach and understanding it is get ready to go back to school. And I really mean this. I'll give you a couple of stats that are unique, well, not so unique to the UK, but they're quite unique. One, we have about 5.6 billion businesses in the UK. 5.6 million, sorry. Could have been a billion, but that's a lot. That's more than the human population of most of the world. So 5.6 million people, businesses. Out of that, 5.51 million have less than 50 employees. So north of 90% of our workforce has less than 50 employees. One of the duties we've got to do at Google is help people get educated. Because the one thing that you have, just like your travel, is the human gift of creativity. How you decide to use technology and how you use it to get here today. And everybody's got a different opinion. So we've got to go back to school and learn. Because the businesses that will be successful in transport will be the businesses that invest in learning this technology to help their users. And their users could be corporate users, could be the user of the train like I was this morning. The other one we need to move away from is data-driven is an interesting statement. Data-driven is only driven if you know what the data is going to do for you. I said to someone the other day, it's like having an oil tanker in the desert. And the oil tanker is actually fueled by diesel. Doesn't matter how much oil you've got, you can't move that to diesel without all of the upstream capability and downstream capability to do it. So I say this because as you look through this, if you empower your business users that know the transport needs of your customers to know how to use generative AI, you will be successful. It's people and technology. So let's move on to the next bit. We talked about the user first. I quickly talked about the persona. Every single person is unique in what they need. And that's no different to a business user or an exec or someone that actually does, finance, or if they do HR. They're all users, including the external world. So there's many different types of users. The thing we've got to do is understand the persona needs. Because the most frustrating thing that you have as a user is if you can see it, but you can't access it. And if you can see it, but you don't know how to access it. And if you see it and you don't know the routes to access. So you know you've got it at the touch of your fingers, but you're not sure how to get it because you get frustrated. So the first thing you probably do is jump onto things like Gemini or Google Search and go, how do I access my data? Or how do I actually use this new technology? So not only we've got to go back to school, we've also got a mindset of being experimental. One of the things that if you look back at my LinkedIn, you will see where I worked before, and there's a few of my ex-colleagues here in the audience. I forgot for 20 years what it was like to learn again. Now, you might say, but you were learning in your business job. The problem is, it's very easy to be busy. It's very hard to create time to learn. Now, you might be saying, well, what's that got to do with AI and data and all of that? Because all those barriers that I'm talking about need you to learn how to help your business navigate them. We're in one of the biggest I don't want to say change management because that has a certain tone. We're in one of the biggest changes in the world at the moment. And the technology will be one aspect of it. The other thing is people. Without people, technology is like a hammer without a nail. You can hit it, but it ain't going to keep two pieces of wood together. So you need both. So I really want us to put the user at the center of it, whoever the user is, internal or external. The other thing we need to think about is what is the business value we're trying to get? So example would be if a persona is very carbon aware. So I do think about that a lot. I used to be in the sustainability group, so CO2 emissions mattered to me. And that was a decision of why I went to train as well, because I didn't want to drive all the way up here. The other thing that drove me to the train is actually, I talked about the Wi-Fi, was actually the offers that were available. The train that I picked was specifically because of the offers. Also, elements around the experience about how far would I have to walk from the train station to here. And also the decision of parking, because I had to drive to a main hub station. All of these are the needs of the user, and we've got to think about that. And if you go to most train experiences today, they're about you knowing what you want and getting the answer once you get there. What we're going to see in the future is it's going to be a seamless. The winners will be how they use technology to make it seamless. And I think that's going to be exciting for business opportunities for businesses, but we've got to make sure we unlock the potential. Now, finally, I wanted to share with you a few use cases that I think will show you what the opportunity space is. I've been involved in one of them, and I've been sort of connected to the other. The first one is, you will notice that we have a Formula E simulator over there. If you want to go and set a lap time, please do. What's Formula E got to do with transport other than it is an EV car and it's highly sustainable? Probably the first one is that using artificial intelligence, Formula E have removed the need of having one plane more than they need. So they go around the world, they're net zero since day zero. They used to have 3 planes, they now have 2. Doesn't sound a lot, 33% reduction in their transport needs. Second is, a lot of their drivers have never driven an electric vehicle on a racetrack before. We have the ability through a simulator like that to educate them on what the differences are. This also lowers the bar for a more diverse set of drivers to enter the sport. Because the actual average driver to get into that top elite will have to pay millions. Millions and millions. Imagine if we lower the barrier for more people to enter. Also, we've been working on is looking at how they can engage with their end users. So we set a new world record in London in last year in July, with 1,100 people came together to learn AI. And that's the largest amount of people in a single day to ever take part in an artificial intelligence hackathon. The winner of that event created a audio podcast based on the footage from a 2-hour film, and they translated it in less than 30 seconds to any language required. We also, through that experience, found one amazing winning second place, which was actually the inclusion one. I'm very proud of being dyslexic. And if you look on my bio, you'll see that I'm part of the British Dyslexic Association. I'm one of their ambassadors. I look after the technology side. They thought about how could they make a Formula E race inclusive for a blind person. So what they did is they provided additional content for that person that had actually, reading difficulties or sight difficulties, and allowed them to get a much more immersive experience through sound. So not just that someone went through a corner, it explained all of that to the user. So what we know is technology can help. You've got all the ideas, we've got the technology, we need to bring it together and make outcomes that are meaningful for your users. The very last bit before we sit down and have a chat is data is one bit, but you need to understand the value of your data. And the first thing is, if you've been around for a number of years, you're going to have more data than you know what to do with. But what you will have is those experts I talked about earlier that will be sitting there urging to use it in anger. Get ready to experiment. Be ready to use it to try things out. The most successful use cases are the ones that are internal to the business. It doesn't have to just be external. And this could actually be something that you just start with as an idea through an employee idea forum. It doesn't have to be a massive procurement. Now you might say, what about the ethical and the data privacy? Absolutely, don't forget that. We publicly share ours as part of explainable privacy and also our AI principles. You can access them by just typing in Google AI principles, Google AI explainable AI, and you will get content on how we protect people from data breaches, data security, and also biased in models. So it's an exciting world we're entering. I want to take away 3 things from this before we sit down. 1, go back to school. Learn, and learn again. It's fun, it's exciting, I love doing it, I urge everybody else to do it. 2nd, experiment, try, practice, get excited by the art of the possible. And finally, if we can help, we will. And there's lots of Googlers here today. We've got the Prism out there. We've got the Formula E simulator there. Take the time, ask the challenging questions, make the Googlers work for their day rate, make it impactful for you, make you get something out of it that helps you. Because it's your time to be famous through technology, and we just want to be part of that journey. So hopefully that's given you a little idea, but we're going to have a sit down and have a chat. Thank you very much.
Thanks, John. I was looking out to the audience to check if there are anybody holding their head, thinking, what's he talking about, or looking quizzical, but everybody seemed to get it, so that's a good starting point. So I just really wanted to take a couple of questions. First of all, you mentioned there about the user being at the center of that. I was the same as you. I arrived at Piccadilly, didn't know whether to get the tram, the train, an Uber, walk. Do you see the AI proposition as taking over and being another interaction, or adding to the interactions that people have currently with the apps that they like, be it Google Maps, be it Waze, or whatever they choose to use?
That's a really, the first one is that AI should not be visible as AI. Okay, if you have to know it's AI, you've lost the point of the technology, because it's frictionless. Yeah. So if you think about Google Maps, if you say I've got an EV and I need to get up to Piccadilly, it will also indicate subtly where the charging points are. And if you use that and you know that you're going by train, it will subtly tell you the busyness on the platform. AI is doing all of that for you. The way you auto-complete an email, that's AI doing it for you. The thing you don't want as a user is friction. Yeah. The less friction you have, the more you'll use it. If you think about Google search, it's a one box on a screen with a logo at the top.
Do you see friction as being moving between apps, or friction as being the data not being there that you should need?
I think as an industry, we've got a responsibility to make sure openness is always there. Yeah. Because I think it's important that, today, for example, I used Google Maps to work out how far from Piccadilly to here, and then I pinged one of the Googlers, and by the way, Google employees are known as Googlers. I pinged one of the Googlers and said how far it was from Piccadilly to here, because I thought they would go by train. So I was using multi-source. Yeah. But I think we as an industry, I'm very pleased that the industry is being more collaborative, more open, and more interactions between technology, so you don't have that friction.
Okay, interesting. You mentioned there about things are getting better, closer together. Just talking holistically, I guess, to a degree, what do you see as the biggest hurdles towards nirvana?
I'll give you 3 people and 1 technical. Culture, that's a big barrier, and also a big enabler. But if your culture isn't being brought on the journey and being made part of it, you will fail. Okay. Second is beliefs. What your beliefs are as a company is the things you need to harness. And the last one is you're biased. If I said to everybody in this audience, how was your experience of getting here today, there'd be some people that walked 50 feet, and there'd be other people like me that went 3.5 hours, and there'd be some people that had to come up overnight. Everybody has a different bias, but we've got to make sure that our workforce going forward is very diverse. Diversity in the workforce is critical with AI, because you need that diverse mindset.
No, I couldn't agree more.
And then 1 technical?
Yep.
1 technical, you've all got old stuff. Let's call it heritage, let's not call it legacy. Heritage is better. You've all got lots of that. Pick where you start carefully. Don't make it become one of the biggest integration projects before you get to the gold. Pick something easy that you know you can access, and try to avoid that heritage landscape in the first stages.
Does that not limit you, though, if you have an end goal versus little steps to go there?
Yeah, we have a term at Google called moonshot. Yeah. So it's called 10x. We have this amazing idea. Yeah. So if you look at any technology, Google Glasses was one as an example. It started with a pair of safety glasses and a Googler hacking a phone apart to put a camera on it. The moonshot is the end goal, but you start with a shed shot, a roof shot, a skyscraper shot, then an outer sort of cloudy shot, and then you hit the moon. You don't do it in one big bang. You've got to have because people in business wants to have evidence of success and value. If you go for something that's going to cost millions and you don't get any value, then it will get shut down.
We do. And then finally, in the last few minutes, you mentioned there about everybody should get trained and have a good understanding of, and you can sit there and you can say, yep, I'm going to do that. How can Google Cloud create an environment to allow as many people as possible to get to that point seamlessly?
Yeah, seamlessly. First one is the route to knowledge is super simple. Google.com, free courses, Google Cloud. Okay? Then you'll get a link to all the courses. We're investing in that. Second, if you're like me, I love seeing videos. Go onto YouTube and type in there, how do I learn generative AI or data, and you'll get a video from so many different bloggers, from us, other people, and they walk you through how to do it.
Brilliant. And I saw you on the simulator. You're quite good. What was your time?
Not very good.
So it's easy to beat him. So all you need to do is to get into that corner over there, or the prison centre out of the back. But with that, I'm going to thank John for his
Brilliant.
time.
Thank you very much. Thank you.